Once upon a time, in a small town near a dark forest, there lived a young man named Ethan. He was just like any other guy in town. He liked to hang out with friends, play video games, and dream about his future. But Ethan's life was about to change in a way he never could have imagined. One morning, Ethan woke up feeling strange. His room looked normal, but something felt very wrong. He sat up in bed and looked down at himself. That's when he noticed something shocking. A part of his body was missing. The part that made him a man was gone. Ethan jumped out of bed, his heart racing. He ran to the mirror, hoping his eyes were playing tricks on him. But the mirror showed the same thing. Where his manhood should have been, there was only smooth skin. "This can't be happening," Ethan whispered, his voice shaking. He pinched himself, thinking it must be a dream. But it wasn't. This was real. Ethan's mind was spinning. How could this happen? What should he do? He couldn't tell his parents. It was too embarrassing. He couldn't go to the doctor either. They'll think he's crazy. There had been an answer somewhere. That's when Ethan remembered the stories about the forbidden forest. People in town always whispered about strange things happening there. Some said the forest had magic. Others said it was cursed. No one ever went in there. At least, no one who came back out. Ethan looked out his window at the dark trees in the distance. The forbidden forest looked scary, but what choice did he have? If there was any place that might have answers, it was there. Taking a deep breath, Ethan made up his mind he would go into the forbidden forest and find out what happened to his missing manhood. It would be dangerous, but he had to try. Little did Ethan know his journey into the forbidden forest would uncover secrets beyond his wildest dreams and nightmares. Ethan knew he couldn't just walk into the forbidden forest without a plan. He needed to be smart about this. First, he got dressed up and went downstairs, trying to act normal around his parents. "Morning, honey," his mom said, flipping pancakes at the stove. "Sleep well?" Ethan's voice cracked as he answered. Yeah, fine." He grabbed a piece of toast and hurried out the door before his mom could ask more questions. Once outside, Ethan headed straight for his best friend Alex's house. If anyone would believe him and help, it would be Alex. When Alex opened the door, Ethan blurted out, "I need your help. Something weird happened to me." Alex's eyes went wide as Ethan explained the situation. At first, Alex thought it was a joke, but seeing the fear in Ethan's eyes, he realized his friend was serious. "Okay," Alex said slowly, "so you think the answer is in the forbidden forest?" "Dude, that place is a bad news. Nobody goes in there." "I know," Ethan replied, "but what choice do I have? Will you help me?" Alex hesitated then nodded. "Of course, what are friends for?" The two boys spent the rest of the morning gathering supplies, flashlights, water bottles, snacks, and a first aid kit. They also found an old map of the area that shows some of the forest. As they walked, Ethan couldn't shake the feeling that they were being watched. Every time he looked out the window, he thought he saw a shadow move between the trees at the forest edge. But when he looked closer, nothing was there. By afternoon, they were ready. Ethan left a note for his parents saying he was staying at Alex's for a few days. Then, with backpacks full and hearts racing, the two friends set off towards the forbidden forest. The forest looked even darker and more menacing up close. The trees seemed to loom over them, their branches reaching out like claws. A cold wind blew, carrying a strange sweet smell that made Ethan's head spin. Last chance to turn back, Alex whispered. Ethan took a deep breath. No, we have to do this. With that, they stepped into the shadows of the forbidden forest. The moment they crossed the tree line, the world seemed to change. The air became thick and heavy. Sounds were muffled, as if they were underwater, and the trees were there moving. Ethan and Alex exchanged nervous glances. This was only the beginning of their journey, and already things were not what they seemed. What secrets would they uncover in the depths of the forbidden forest? And would Ethan find the answer to his missing manhood? As they pushed deeper into the forest, neither boy noticed the pair of glowing eyes watching them from the shadows, or heard the soft airy laughter that floated on the wind behind them. The adventure had begun, and there was no turning back now. As Ethan and Alex ventured deeper into the forest, the trees grew thicker and closer together. The branches above them tangled into a canopy so dense that barely any sunlight filtered through. It felt like night, even though they knew it was still daytime. Maybe we should mark our path, Alex suggested. Pulling out a pocket knife, he carved an X into the back of a nearby tree. But when they looked back a few minutes later, the X was gone. The tree's bark was smooth, as if it had never been marked. Okay, that's creepy, Ethan muttered. They walked for what felt like hours. Their watches had stopped working, and the moment they entered the forest, so they had no way to tell time. The forest seemed to go on forever, with no clearing or paths in sight. Suddenly, Ethan stopped. Do you hear that? He whispered. Alex listened. At first, he heard nothing but the eerie silence of the forest. Then, faintly, he caught it, a soft melodic humming. It's coming from over there, Ethan pointed. They crept together the sound. They crept towards the sound, pushing through thick underbrush. As they got closer, the humming grew louder. It was a beautiful haunting melody that seemed to pull them forward. Finally, they pushed through a curtain of vines and found themselves in a small clearing. In the center stood an old well, its stones covered in glowing moss. Perched on the edge of the well was the source of the humming, a creature unlike anything they had ever seen. It had the upper body of a woman, but instead of legs, it had the long, scaly tails of a snake. Its skin shimmered with an otherworldly blue glow, and its eyes were completely black. The creature stopped humming and turned to look at them. When it spoke, its voice was like liquid silver. Welcome, brave ones, it said. Few venture this far into the forbidden forest. What brings you to my well? Ethan swallowed hard. I'm looking for something I lost, something important. The creature's black eyes seemed to look right through him. Ah, yes, the missing piece. I know why you are here, Ethan. Ethan's jaw dropped. How do you know my name? The creature laughed. A sound like tinkling bells. The forest knows all, sees all, and I am the guardian of its secrets. Can you help me? Ethan asked desperately. The creature tilted its head. Perhaps, but all magic comes with a price. Are you willing to pay it? Alex grabbed Ethan's arm. Dude, be careful. We don't know what this thing is or what it wants. But Ethan was too focused on getting answers. What's the price? He asked the creature. The creature smiled, revealing rows of sharp teeth. A memory, a precious one. In exchange, I'll give you a clue to find what you seek. Ethan hesitated. Give up a memory. But what choice did he have? Okay, he said. I'll do it. The creature's smile widened. It reached out a slender hand and touched Ethan's forehead. Instantly, Ethan felt a tugging sensation in his mind, as if something was being pulled out of him. When it was over, Ethan blinked in confusion. He felt like he had forgotten something important, but he couldn't remember what. The creature spoke again. Your clue, brave one. What you seek lies in the heart of the forest, where day and night meet. But beware the shadows that hunger and the light that blinds. With that, the creature slipped into the well and vanished, leaving Ethan and Alex alone in the clearing. What just happened? Alex asked, his voice shaking. Ethan shook his head, trying to clear the fog from his mind. I'm not sure, but we have a clue now. We need to find the heart of the forest. As they left the clearing, neither boy noticed the vines behind them moving, sealing off the path they had come from. The forbidden forest was changing around them, leading them deeper into its mysteries. What other strange creatures and challenges would they face? And what awaited them at the end? What other strange creatures and challenges would they face? And what awaited them at the heart of the forest? Ethan and Alex pressed on, unaware that their adventure was about to become even more dangerous and bizarre than they could have ever imagined. As Ethan and Alex pushed deeper into the forbidden forest, the air grew thicker, filled with swirling mist that seemed to whisper secrets just beyond their understanding. The trees began to change, their bark twisting into faces and watched the boys with hollow eyes. Suddenly, Alex stumbled, crying out in pain. Ethan, look! Ethan turned to see thorny vines wrapping around Alex's ankle, small flowers blooming along their length. But these weren't ordinary flowers. Each blossom had tiny gnashing teeth. Hold still, Ethan yelled, grabbing a nearby stick. He swatted at the vines, which hissed and recoiled. As they retreated, Ethan noticed they left behind small glowing marks on Alex's skin. What are these? Alex asked, peering at the strange symbols. Before Ethan could answer, a deep rumbling laugh echoed through the forest. The boys spun around to see a massive figure emerge from behind a tree. It was easily 10 feet tall, with the body of a man but the head of a stag, complete with enormous antlers, and seemed to glow faintly in the dim light. The forest has marked you, young one, the creature said, its voice like rolling thunder. You bear the sigils of the seven now, a gift and a curse. Alex's eyes widened in fear, but Ethan stepped forward. Who are you? What are these sigils? The stagman tilted its head, regarding them curiously. I am the Warden of the woods, guardian of the ancient secrets. The sigils of the seven are keys to unlocking the forest's deepest mysteries. It paused, sniffing the air. Ah, but you seek something else, don't you, Ethan? Something personal. Ethan felt a chill run down his spine. How does everyone here know about that? The warden chuckled. The forest knows all. But tell me, boy, do you know what you truly lost? Is it merely flesh or something more? Before Ethan could respond, the ground beneath them began to tremble. Roots erupted from the earth, forming a massive hand that snatched Alex off his feet. Alex! Ethan screamed, reaching for his friend, but the root hand was too fast, pulling Alex into the ground. The warden's eyes glowed with an eerie light. A test, Ethan. The forest demands balance. To gain, you must lose. Your friend bears the sigils now. Find him and you may find yourself. With another rumbling laugh, the warden melted back into the shadows of the forest, leaving Ethan alone and terrified. Panic threatened to overwhelm him, but Ethan forced himself to focus. He had to find Alex, and somehow he knew that finding his friend was tied to solving the mystery of his missing manhood. As if responding to his thoughts, the marks left by the vines on his own skin began to tingle. Ethan looked down to see one of the sigils glowing faintly on his wrist. Instinctively, he knew it was pointing him in the right direction. With a deep breath, Ethan plunged forward into the unknown depths of the forbidden forest. The trees seemed to part before him, revealing a path he hadn't seen before. In the distance, he could hear strange music and see flashes of otherworldly lights. What he didn't see was the pair of mismatched eyes watching him from the branches above. One eye a swirling galaxy, the other a void of absolute darkness. The creature grinned, revealing teeth like shards of mirror, and whispered, "The game begins." As Ethan ventured further, the forest around him began to shift and change in impossible ways. Trees grew upside down, their roots reaching for the sky. Flowers bloomed and withered in seconds. And always, just at the edge of his vision, shadowy figures danced and beckoned. The deeper Ethan went, the more he realized that finding Alex and reclaiming what he'd lost wouldn't be a journey through the forbidden forest. It would be a journey into the very nature of reality itself. And somewhere in the heart of it all, where day and night met, the truth awaited. But would Ethan be prepared for what he would find? And more importantly, would he be prepared for what he might become in the process? The Forbidden Forest had only begun to reveal its secrets, and Ethan's transformation was far from over. Ethan pressed on through the ever-changing landscape of the Forbidden Forest, guided by the faintly glowing sigils on his wrist. The forest seemed to be alive, pulsing with the otherworldly energy that made the air shimmer and warp around him. As he walked, Ethan began to notice strange phenomena. Shadows moved against the direction of light. The ground beneath his feet sometimes felt solid, sometimes like water. And occasionally, he'd catch glimpses of other versions of himself out of the corner of his eye, some older, some younger, some not quite human. Suddenly, the sigil on his wrist flared brightly, and Ethan found himself in a circular clearing. In the center stood an enormous tree, its trunk twisted into the shape of a double helix. Carved into its bark were symbols similar to the sigils on Alex's skin. As Ethan approached the tree, he heard a familiar voice call out, "Ethan, help me." It was Alex's voice, but it seemed to be coming from inside the tree itself. Ethan rushed forward, placing his hand on the bark. To his shock, his hand passed through as if the tree were made of mist. Without hesitation, Ethan stepped into the tree. The world around him dissolved into a colors of sensation. He felt himself falling, spinning, transforming in flashes. He saw visions, a younger version of himself, whole and unaware of the strange journey ahead. Alex, suspended in a web of glowing threads, the sigils on his skin pulsing with power. The creature from the well, its snake-like lower body coiled around a pulsing orb of light, and most shockingly, an older version of himself, standing tall and confident, with a body that was neither fully male nor female. Something new, something transcendent. As quickly as it began, the vision ended. Ethan found himself lying on his back in a new part of the forest. The tree nowhere in sight. His body felt strange, tingling all over, and there, right beside him, lay Alex, unconscious and breathing. Ethan sighed in relief, but as he reached out to shake his friend awake, he froze. His hand, it was glowing, just like the sigils, and not just his hand. His entire body was covered in intricate luminous patterns. Before he could process the new development, a soft voice spoke from the shadows. The transformation has begun, but this is only the beginning, Ethan. The real question is, are you ready for what comes next? Ethan looked up to see a figure stepping out of the darkness. It was the older, transformed version of himself from the vision. The figure smiled enigmatically and said, "To find what you've lost, you must be willing to become something entirely new." Will Ethan be able to save Alex and himself, or will the forest magic consume them both? We will find out in our next episode. If you find this story interesting, give it thumbs up and leave a comment below. Thank you for watching and God bless you.